Well, hello there, and welcome to the Trending Now podcast, the official podcast of Trending Now, which you catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. on CHCH. I'm Louie Butko, and this podcast is brought to you by the CHCH Sunday Blockbuster. This Sunday, March the 5th, get ready for a thrilling ride with Knives Out. Clever and captivating murder mystery that will keep you on the edge of your seat. An all-star cast, including Daniel Craig and Chris Evans. It is a modern classic, and you can catch it this Sunday, March 5th, 8 p.m. on CHCH. Coming up on today's show, we will recap the week that was on Trending Now. Lots of big stories to get to. CSIS and China. Fox News, TikTok, and lots of entertainment news to get to as well. And as always, we'll be joined by the host, Kelly Botelho, of course, filling in for Nicole Martin. We'll be joined by Manesa Dhanabalan, the reporter this week on Trending Now. And we'll be joined by the producer of the show, Laura Sebben, as she will keep us up to date on what's going on in the world of the celebrity gossip. As a couple of big concert announcements that we're going to get to, but we'll dive a little deeper with Laura Sebben coming up on today's show. Again, I'm Louie Butko. Thanks for checking us out here on Trending Now, episode 3. If you've liked what you've heard so far, we appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode of this show or any of our other shows that may be coming your way here on CHCH. All right, let's get to the week that was. And one of the biggest stories that dominated this week on Trending Now and across the news spectrum was CSIS leaked documents to the Globe and Mail. As continue revelations regarding Chinese interference in Canadian elections. Both Kelly and Manesa covered this story throughout the week, as on Monday, to start the week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau publicly addressed the leaked CSIS documents that suggest that China sought to ensure a liberal minority government. Now, the story first broke in the Globe and Mail when they said that the spy service quoted one Chinese diplomat as saying that Beijing likes it when Canadian political parties are fighting with each other. They also said that according to CSIS, Chinese diplomats are behind undeclared cash donations to campaigns and have business owners hire international Chinese students and assign them to volunteer in election campaigns. Now, Trudeau has said he's taking the issue very seriously, but he's maintained that it was Canadian voters that decided the election and that the leaks had inaccuracies, and he's dismissed calls for a public inquiry.
It is extremely important, as you say, that Canadians see that this is open, transparent, nonpartisan, independent, because we're all concerned and worried about our elections' integrity.
Meanwhile, Kelly was joined on Monday's show by political science professor at the Royal Military College, Jane Bolden, to discuss the issue further. And Kelly started by asking if Professor Bolden, based on the information, believed that China had interfered in our most recent election.
Well, based on the information that's been released so far, it's hard to say definitively. But the allegations are quite significant and serious in that they are quite specific, as opposed to being, we think in a general way, maybe this happened. So I think there's some likelihood there that something went on. And one of the big questions is exactly what happened, where did it happen, and who was involved. The idea of election interference generally isn't particularly new, right? It happens a lot. It happens a lot in history. But again, what's specific here is what raises questions about what's been happening and makes it as serious as it has the potential to be.
Why would China want to interfere with the election? Why would China want Trudeau to win?
Well, Canada's a key player with respect to China, not the key player. Of course, China's a big power now. It plays a major role in the world. Its primary concerns are the other big powers. That said, we are a significant trading partner. We're a significant player internationally amongst the West from a political perspective. So there's those factors to consider. The other part is we've had an on-again, off-again difficult relationship with China over the past 5, maybe 10 years. And so there's reason for China to be interested in who's in charge and what positions they might take. And so from a Chinese perspective, a minority government is probably more desirable than a majority government because it's going to be weaker, honestly, in the sense that positions taken by a minority government aren't going to be as strong as they might be because they have to consider the fact that they're in a minority position. And that would suit China, right? It weakens or it diminishes the possibility of strong Canadian positions that would counter Chinese interests.
Do you think a situation like this creates mistrust in our government? And do you think a public inquiry like the NDP want is a good idea?
I do think it creates questions of mistrust. And we, know from other situations in the past 5 to 10 years how mistrust in elections can have significant negative side effects. And in any case, mistrust in elections are just a bad idea, no matter what. And yes, this kind of situation, these kinds of allegations raise those kinds of questions. Is the system sound? If it's not sound, in what ways is it vulnerable? If it's vulnerable in that way, might it be vulnerable in other ways? And all of those kinds of uncertainties create problems or the potential for problems in the election process. And therefore, yes, I think an inquiry is a good idea. Anytime the question of the legitimacy of an election process in a democracy is raised, it needs to be addressed.
Now, sticking with this story, by the way, that was Jane Bolden from the Royal Military College, political science professor. Full interview available at Trending Now on the YouTube page. But sticking with this story, later on in the week on Thursday, the director of CSIS, David Vigneault, along with representatives from RCMP and Elections Canada, testified before the Procedure and House Affairs Committee. And they said that the last two elections were not compromised by foreign actors, but he added that a registry that tracks foreign agents engaging in political activity would probably be useful in the future.
Based on my information and my experience, for what it's worth, Madam Chair, I would say that I concur with that conclusion.
Again, CSIS, Canada's spy agency, he's the director of it. He claimed he wasn't able to answer many of the MP's questions because of confidentiality issues. Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs at Global Affairs Canada, David Morrison, has said that he's committed to investigating all intelligence that comes their way.
There is nothing our adversaries would like more than to divide Canadians and have us call into question the very institutions that keep us safe and free, including our electoral processes. We must take all suggestions of foreign interference seriously, even where we only have partial or dubious information. And let me assure you, we do just that. But the larger point is that intelligence needs to be seen for what it is and what it is not. And if that doesn't happen, we will all end up much worse off.
Now, despite this, opposition MPs want to know more, as Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois voted in favor of an NDP motion to launch a national public inquiry, while the Liberal MPs on the committee voted against the motion. Now, the motion's not binding. This was just in committee. So the government doesn't have to launch an inquiry. And as mentioned, Trudeau has suggested that there are other ways to investigate foreign interference. But clearly, this story is not going away anytime soon. We'll check in with both Manesa and Kelly on the latest when each of them stop by later on in the show. Taking a look at one of the other trending stories that dominated the headlines this week, TikTok. Yeah, the app, as Canada as well as the US issued orders banning the use of the video sharing app on government-issued cell phones over privacy and cybersecurity concerns. Yeah, Monday, Canada's Treasury Board President Mona Fortier ruled that the app needed to be deleted from all devices that were government-issued. Meanwhile, Kelly was joined by technology analyst and journalist Carmi Levy to discuss the ban. And Kelly started out by asking how this Chinese-owned company presents a potential security threat.
Yeah, I mean, how threatening can an app that, the kids are using to share videos of them dancing be? But the reality is there are two real risks here. One is the degree to which the app collects data and information. We've seen a number of forensic analyses of this app compared to other social media apps like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. And while they all collect a certain amount of information, they access the camera and the microphone, for example, they access your contacts, other apps, location information. TikTok raises that to a new level. So it collects a lot more information than other apps in the space. And then the second part of it, and this is the one that keeps me up at night, is what it does with that information once it has collected it. With Facebook and Instagram, you know, it's going to an American company. We may not like Mark Zuckerberg. He may not be our favorite person in the world, but, you know, he's just trying to sell us stuff. I think it's a fairly benign arrangement. Whereas with TikTok, yes, they're using it for marketing purposes, but it's also going to a company that is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese organization. And we know that Chinese companies have a deal with the government there, that when the government asks for data, they have to provide it, no choice. And so your information is going, we don't really know where, and it's being seen by, we're not really sure who, and it's being used for purposes that, you know, could include spying. Who really knows? That's the scary thing, is everything is kind of this dark underbelly. And as a result, it does represent a pretty significant area of exposure. Of all the apps that are on your phone, this is the one that you should probably worry about the most.
Do you think the federal government is being too aggressive with the scope and speed of this ban, or is it necessary?
I think it is necessary, and I've got to give credit where credit is due. The federal government is doing a pretty good job responding quickly to this. Normally, they would launch an investigation. They would send it off to committee, study it for months on end before deciding to do something about it. In this case, other countries, the U.S., the European Union, other provinces, states across the U.S. are moving in this direction, and Canada is not letting the grass grow under its feet. They're acting now. They announced it earlier this week, and it is live now. They didn't give it a lot of time to play out. So they are moving aggressively. But when you have security concerns that remain unanswered, you don't have time to sit and twiddle your thumbs. You got to move. And this is one of those rare instances where the government has done exactly that.
And that was Kelly, as she was joined by technology analyst and journalist Carmi Levy, discussing the TikTok ban. I'm sure, again, more on this, even just today, the city of Hamilton had their own response to the federal government ban, as, for council's awareness, at the time of this update, the government has not indicated what, if any, action it may take. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm reading this is just from the city. I just got this right now. Out of an abundance of caution and in consultation with the city's IT division, senior leadership, and social media team, the city will be removing the TikTok app from city devices and will be prevented from use on City of Hamilton devices going forward. So there you go. Hamilton is disabling their TikTok account even. So yeah, this TikTok thing, again, one of those stories that is not going anywhere, and you'll be able to follow it along right here on Trending Now. Also making headlines this week was the ongoing Dominion lawsuit against Fox News and their parent company, Fox Corporation, over their coverage of the 2020 presidential election, and more specifically, amplifying the idea that Dominion's vote counters were rigged. This story has been going on for a few weeks. We've seen, seals, courtroom seals been open, and there's been a lot of information coming out. As in documents unsealed in Delaware State Court this week, Fox owner Rupert Murdoch and other executives admitted that they believe that Joe Biden won, Donald Trump lost, and the election results were not in doubt. But that's despite what some of his highest profile hosts and their guests were saying on the air at the time.
They did this on purpose. It was calculated. They've done it before. We have evidence from 2016 in California. We have so much evidence, I feel like it's coming in through a fire hose.
Wow. So, Sydney, you feel that you will be able to prove this. Do you have the software in your possession? Do you have the hardware in your possession? How will you prove this, Sydney?
Well, I've got lots of ways to prove it, Maria, but I'm not going to tell on national TV what all we have. I just can't do that.
I think most Americans right now cannot believe what we're witnessing in this election. We have across almost every state, whether it's Dominion, EBS, whatever the company, voting machine company is, no one knows their ownership. has no idea what's going on in those servers, has no understanding of the software because it's proprietary.
Now, Fox News has claimed that its hosts were merely relaying information to viewers and that there's nothing in the U.S. Constitution holding them responsible for that information's accuracy. Again, this story not going away. If you've read some of the text message, it's pretty cut and dry. No, I don't want to say cut and dry, but it's pretty interesting to see what some prominent Fox News hosts were saying on the air to their viewers, their millions of viewers, and what they were saying privately in text messages. It's a weird story, and I encourage you to look it up further, and we did a couple of great pieces on it this week on Trending Now, so I encourage you to go check them out in case you missed it. Now, switching gears to a little bit lighter news, there were lots of entertainment happenings this week as award season continues to roll along, and this past weekend it was the 29th annual Screen Actors Guild Awards. That's the final stop leading up to next weekend's Oscars.
There's a great evil spreading throughout the many verses, and you may be our only chance of stopping it.
Don't make me fight you. I am really good.
I don't believe you.
The sci-fi multiverse hopping Everything Everywhere All at Once was the big winner, taking home 4 trophies, including Michelle Yeoh for Best Leading Actress, Jamie Lee Curtis for Best Supporting Actress, while Ke Huy Quan was the first Asian actor to win the Best Supporting Male Actor award, as well as the whole cast won Best Cast, which is the big award. There's no Best Picture, but they do a Best Cast at the SAG Awards, and that's what Everything Everywhere All at Once has took home on Sunday. Meanwhile, Canadian Brendan Fraser took home the actor, that's the trophy, for the SAGs, for Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Leading Role for his performance in The Whale, and was quite emotional in his acceptance speech.
I never would have believed that I would have been offered the role of my life in this character, Charlie, in The Whale. He's someone who is on a raft of regrets, but he's in a sea of hope. And I've been at that sea, and I've rode that wave lately, and it's been powerful and good. And I've also had that wave smash me right down to the ocean floor and drag my face along there and wind up on some strange beach in a different world and wondering, where am I now? And I just want you to know for real, all the actors out there who have gone through that, who are going through that, I know how you feel, but believe me, if you just stay in there and you put one foot in front of the other, you'll get to where you need to go.
Fraser trying to become just the 8th Canadian actor or actress to win a competitive Oscar in any category, only the 3rd since 1950 and the 1st since Christopher Plummer took home Best Supporting Actor for The Beginners in 2012. Sticking with entertainment, some concert news. Yeah, after 50 years, the legendary rock band Kiss will hit the road for a farewell tour, announcing the end of the road for their final 50 shows. A tour is going to start in South America in April, and it'll wrap up with a 17-date North American leg that has plenty of stops in Canada: Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Montreal, Quebec City, Ottawa, and Toronto. They'll then play their final show in their hometown of New York City at Madison Square Garden. A 2-night event, December 1st and December 2nd. In a statement, the band says, quote, "Kiss was born in New York City on 23rd Street half a century ago. It will be a privilege and honor to finish touring at Madison Square Garden, 10 blocks and 50 years from where we first started." Tickets go on sale to the public beginning next Friday, March the 10th. Meanwhile, another concert news.
Is it too late now to say sorry?
Yeah, Canadian pop star Justin Bieber, who celebrated his 29th birthday on Wednesday, has wiped the last of his tour dates from the calendar. A run of concerts that included stops in Europe, the US, and Australia. All were changed to canceled on Ticketmaster, and his website no longer mentions any tour dates. These new cancellations come after some dates in the North American tour were scrapped as the Biebs dealt with the health effects of his Ramsay-Hunt syndrome diagnosis. This was last year. He then returned to tour midsummer before he pulled out again, saying that the concerts were taking a toll on him. He's not the first high-profile musician to cite health concerns and mental health concerns of touring after fellow Canadian pop star Shawn Mendes canceled his world tour last summer, and K-pop group BTS postponed their world tour in 2020, citing burnout. For more on everything entertainment, very pleased to be joined by our very own in-house pop culture expert. She's also the producer of Trending Now, and she saw Nicole's baby today. It's Laura Sebben. Laura, what's up?
Hey, what's up? That's right. I did see Nicole's baby today. I've been dubbed Zia Laura, and I'm loving it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. How's Nicole doing? People have asked me, of course, my other side hustle when I'm not doing this podcast and not doing sports on weekend is I'm a reporter. And I go out and everybody's always asking, how's Nicole? So I got to ask you, how's Nicole?
She's doing well. She's getting used to the mom life. She still hasn't fully adjusted, but I think that's with any new mom. It hasn't even been 2 whole months yet. So you just got to get into the swing of having a baby that keeps you up all night, right?
Let's talk about these concert announcements. Let's start with the Biebs, because this is following a trend. We mentioned that Shawn Mendes stepped away from his tour. BTS stepped away from their tour. I mean, is it nice to see that these artists are taking a break for their health, or is it more that, hey, you committed to this, you're canceling these shows? I was super psyched for it. I mean, I can see both sides of this one.
I can definitely see both sides of it too, as somebody who has been waiting like 7 years to see Rihanna again, and is going to have to wait even longer because now she's going to be a 2-time mom. But on the flip side, none of us will ever know what it's like to be a touring artist. None of us will ever know what it's like to be away from home and not like in a pseudo home spot. Like they are just in a bus, in a different hotel room, or in a different staying area almost every night. So none of us will really know what that's like. And some people were talking too about the pressures of having like a crew behind you. So when these artists are touring, like the success of the tour and how much money everybody's getting paid is entirely reliant on these artists. So that's a lot of pressure on their shoulders too, if they have to pull out for a night because they really are feeling sick. They know that the crew's losing money. They know that they're disappointing their fans, which any musician who is not a jerk will tell you that the fans are the most important part, right? So they hate letting them down. So I know that there must be a lot going on in their minds to make this decision. And just a week ago, Shawn Mendes was doing a bunch of interviews saying like, he's glad he took that time, and now he understands why he was feeling how he was feeling, and he's ready to start making new music again and go out on the road because he's able to take care of himself better.
Now, I've had this conversation with people who are older than me, people who are younger than me, that, I mean, we're around the same age. You and I are around the same age as Shawn Mendes and Justin Bieber, and there is something to be said about being in your 20s and being in your 30s and growing up with the internet and having all this pressure on them. But I mean, we face our own pressures, and I'm not saying that people older than us do, but there isn't really any. It's hard to describe being 20 and 30 right now, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what our generation is doing that our like parents never did is our parents were told, you work to live, you live to work. And I think with the advent of the internet and having all this access to information that we never had access to before, our generation is seeing like, hey, no, that's not a cool way to live. And we're really advocating for ourselves. And it may seem weird to see somebody who's a millionaire advocating for their mental health, but they're people too, right? Just because they're under a lens and we can scrutinize everything they do and we basically know the ins and outs of their lives doesn't mean that they're still not people who struggle with the same things that everyday people struggle with.
Including some sometimes petty dramas, which is what we got with this on-set feud. The Idol, it's an HBO show. Give me the cliff notes on this one, because this one went a little over my head, but fill me in.
So the cliff notes is that this show, The Idol, it stars Lily Rose Depp and The Weeknd. It's his first kind of foray into acting. And it was being shot and directed by a female director. And about 80% of the way through the project, she dropped out. There were rumors that The Weeknd wasn't happy with where the storyline was going. He allegedly wanted more screen time. He allegedly said it was delving into more of a female perspective. So HBO brought on their Euphoria guy, Sam Levinson. He's the guy behind Euphoria, which has had its own fair share of controversy over the scenes in that show and whatnot. And so this show has been pushed back time and time again, The Idol. And now Crew has come out and said that when Sam Levinson took over, the show just took a turn and it became really sexually violent, really sexually graphic.
Which were the concerns over Euphoria, too. I mean, a lot of acts, Sweeney stepped up and said something, that one of the actresses. I mean, this has been a bit of a pattern for this guy.
Yeah, and so instead of addressing these concerns that people were saying the show is becoming a played out, trigger warning, rape fantasy, The Weeknd went and posted a clip from the show where they basically talk about the Rolling Stone, who broke this story about the on-set drama. They call the Rolling Stone outdated and irrelevant, which a lot of people, again, are not happy with because it's like, these are serious allegations and you're just using it as an opportunity to not only promote your show, but make a joke out of the allegations.
Big F1 weekend. Who's winning the first race of the season?
I don't want to answer that question.
Go!
Well, it's probably going to be Max. It's probably going to be Max Verstappen. I would love for it to be Lewis Hamilton. I'm a Mercedes. Well, I wouldn't even say I'm a Mercedes girl.
You're wearing a Mercedes shirt.
Yeah, but I'm a Lewis Hamilton girl. They don't have their own branded merchandise. You have to buy the team merchandise. But some shockers. We might see Aston Martin come out of the back of the grid to the front of the grid. So I'm really excited for the season to start.
All right, well, enjoy the weekend. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Louie.
My thanks to Laura Sebben for joining me. Of course, she is the producer of Trending Now, and very pleased to be joined by the host of Trending Now, Kelly Botelho. And Kelly, I mean, I say this every week, but what a week.
Yeah, what a week it was.
Yeah.
I would have to say that the story that stuck out to me the most this week was the Alec Murdaugh trial. We had some breaking news actually on Trending Now yesterday when he was found guilty of murdering his wife and son. So that was exciting. It's obviously a huge trial.
You came in this morning and you were asking everyone who would listen if you've watched the Netflix documentary. It is so interesting watching this happen in real time. There's a Netflix documentary. There's an HBO documentary. There's been podcasts about it. It is weird watching this trial unfold as closely as we have here at Trending Now, and then to see it resolve the way it did last night.
And it's because the family has such an, let's say, interesting past. And I watched the Netflix documentary, as you could imagine. And I just finished that up and watching this trial. And I just want to say, I've covered trials in Canada. And Canadian media, we're not allowed to film in the courtroom. We're not allowed. There's so many publication bans in Canada. Sometimes for very important reasons. Sometimes, it kind of hinders a little bit of what we do. But seeing a trial play out in the U.S. is just it's so crazy, right? They have cameras in the courtroom. His testimony was on camera.
Live.
He's crying. He's admitting to lying. And, the sentencing today, also on camera, the judge saying that, maybe it wasn't Alec Murdaugh who killed his wife and son. Maybe it was the monster that he becomes, because he was addicted to drugs.
Yeah, and that was almost the defense that he used. He didn't defend murdering it because he denied it, but he had said that he was on a lot of drugs and they were making him do weird things. The TikTok ban I want to talk to you, because you were talking this week with Carmi Levy, and you admitted that you are a TikTok addict. You love the app. I was the exact same way. Every spare minute I had, I found myself scrolling and checking.
It is a hole that, just don't download TikTok. If you want to be a productive human being, do not download TikTok, because it's not even so much posting. I don't post that often to TikTok, but just the scrolling, the never-ending content, and it's short and it's fun.
What do you make of everything that's going on right now around? I mean, this week specifically, from Monday, to the government saying, yeah, you can't have it, to today, as I was recording the show today, the city of Hamilton says, yeah, we're following suit. And not only that, Jagmeet Singh says, I'm not going to post anymore. And he was really popular on the app. Pierre Polyev said he's not going to post anymore. Do you see us moving away, or is this just too big right now?
Well, I'm sure like these government officials are doing this for good reason. And obviously they're doing this because they say that it poses a really great security threat. So they're not going to have it on their government devices. And Jagmeet Singh went as far as saying that he's not posting at all to it. Will it be banned in Canada for everyone? I don't know, but I don't think so. I mean, I could see why a government official might not want an app that has security threats on their phone because obviously of security reasons and China and whatnot, but yeah.
And when you talk about like the addiction, almost sometimes it feels like when you're scrolling, it is very different than the other social medias that have come around. Like you're really not posting anything. You're really not sharing your life. You're just scrolling. And my thing is like, I am amazed by the creativity of some people in their videos.
So good.
In like 30 seconds, how they can catch your attention and get you laughing. And it is a really creative app. Do you want to plug your TikTok?
News Gals.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm sure our viewers will remember Sylvie Lenve. So we have our TikTok, but it started off as, something sharing news, and that's what it still is. We just do news on the app. So we don't do anything like really that fun, but because we got this account, I started using TikTok and scrolling, and that's how you got that's how you get into that hole of never ending. 2 hours go by and you're still scrolling.
Friday. It's been a long week. What are you doing this weekend to unwind? Put you on the spot here.
Well, it is my niece's birthday today.
Okay.
So on Sunday, my sister's having a birthday party for her. So that should be very nice. And if we get a ton of snow tonight, I'm not doing anything tomorrow.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah,
I keep looking outside the window and like looking at my watch and being like, okay,
when's it coming?
Yeah, when's it coming?
So if we get a lot of snow tomorrow, I'm just staying cozy inside.
Well, happy birthday to your niece, and it gives me a chance to say it's my birthday on Sunday too. Yeah,
happy birthday!
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's the first anniversary of my 30th birthday, so that's how I've decided to do it moving forward.
So what are you gonna do?
I'm actually heading up to Guelph tonight to celebrate with some friends, if I can make it up Highway 6.
Yeah, well,
at least I'm not going down Highway 6 because Monday
that was just a
my
fiasco.
Gosh, just awful,
Yeah.
just awful. All right, I'll let you get back. I know you got a show to get ready for, so thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
All right, from the producer to the host, that was Kelly Botelho. Thanks to her for joining us. To the reporter this week, Manesa Dhanabalan is here with us on the Trending Now podcast. Manesa, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Louie. Thank you for having me.
I just revealed this to Kelly Botelho. It's my birthday on Sunday. Anything you'd like to say?
I don't know if there's anything I'd like to say.
It's a softball. I'm putting it on a tee.
I know, but like, what do I even want to say about that?
Happy birthday? You don't want to wish me a happy birthday?
I guess happy birthday, Louie.
I guess.
I'm totally joking. Happy birthday.
All right, thanks so much for being on the show.
No.
This has been the Trending Now pod. Well, thank you.
Happy early birthday.
Okay, all right, thank you. I think it's also Yulia, our PA. It's her birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to her.
Look how quickly you did that. Yeah, well, it's her actual birthday.
Yeah, it's her actual birthday today.
It's her actual birthday today.
I didn't even know that. Okay, well, I'll go say happy birthday to her, but happy birthday, Yulia.
Wow. What a week. Another one. I mean, this is the show. There's so much that happens. Yeah. When you look back on the past 5 days, 7 days, what jumps out to you?
There's a lot of ups and downs this week. Well, like the first off, like the NHL trades. That was like a huge thing. When it's funny because I don't know anything about sports at all. Yeah. So when I like every single morning for Trending Now, I go on Twitter and I see what is actually trending too. Yeah. So I saw a lot of those names and I had no clue what was actually trending.
See, I was gonna do a little game here where I was gonna put the names back up. Like Jesse Pugliarvi and try to get you to say them. Matthias, funny story. You asked me on Tuesday. I was a reporter on Tuesday. You asked me, how do you say these names? And I said them so confidently. And then you were about to record. I was like, no, wait, stop. No. Because Matthias Ekholm was the one. But yeah, you did pretty well. You did pretty well.
When I went to go voice, I remember how we went over it 5 times probably. I kept repeating it. I go into the edit bay with Dave Roberts, one of our editors, and I start saying it, and I as soon as I said the word, he's like, I think it's actually Matthias. And I was like, I'm like, no, but Louie said this. And he's like, well, okay, whatever you say. Like, Dave was never gonna like.
I was working on something else. I can't even remember what I was working on Tuesday. Like, that's the thing about this job that I think, like, you know, we do the news and it just goes by, right? Like, when do you like stop and think like, okay, like, do you ever do that when you get home and you're, what did I do today? Because people always ask
me every day.
Because like, people always ask, like, what'd you do today? I'm like, I don't know. There was a story.
I couldn't even remember the story I was doing yesterday. Like, it never happens. Yeah. Like, as soon as I go home, like sometimes my mom, like my family asks me, she's like, oh, what was your story today? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish, but
I mean, it's a tough thing being a reporter because you are an expert in something. Because people always ask me about my job. And it's like, oh, what do you do for a living? And it's like, you know, if you're on a date and so you're trying to make conversation, you're trying to say like, oh, I'm a reporter on TV. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. And it's like, that's kind of like every day you have to give a report. So it's like being in school and like you get 6 hours to study for it. And then you have to be ready to present that in front of the class, which in this case is the entire, you know, Hamilton Canadian audience that we have here.
Yeah. Like, it's funny because when I was growing up, I hated researching.
Yeah.
And then look at me now.
That's our whole job. I put Kelly on the spot with this one. I'm going to put you on this because it's a Friday mood. Snowstorm coming. What do you got up to? What are you getting up to this weekend?
This weekend? That is a great question. So, you know how Bed Bath & Beyond actually has a liquidation sale, it seems like? Okay. I don't know. Like, I've heard. So, it's funny because my sister's trying to, you know, get some supplies for her house and whatever. So, when she moves out. So, when she wanted to go get a bunch of like plates and utensils and stuff. So I was going to go do that. So yeah, I'm going to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Adam would have died right now if he was here because of the old school movie joke that he actually brought up earlier this week.
That's a great movie. That's going to be on my list of things to watch. Manesa, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
My thanks to Manesa Dhanabalan. My thanks to Kelly Botelho. And my thanks to Laura Sebben and you for listening. We really do appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Trending Now podcast. I am Louie Butko. Thanks for checking us out. From all of us here at CHCH, have a great weekend.